Miss Edwards says Mr. Jeremiah's addiction has turned their relationship and their family upside down. She says this is his last chance. Today on Divorce Court.
All rise. The Honorable Judge start presiding.
Hello, everyone. You may be seated.
Your Honor, this is the case of Edwards v. Jeremiah.
Thank you very much, Ms. Edwards and Mr. Jeremiah. We're glad to have you here in Divorce Court. Thank you for trusting us with your case. I'd like to welcome everyone here. Today, we're going to look at another case that has a lot of stakes in the ground. There's an allegation that drugs have really put this couple at a crossroads. Let's see what this is all about. I'm going to come straight to you, Ms. Edwards. Why are we in Divorce Court?
Well, Ms. Judge Star Jones, we're in divorce court today because I'm fed up. I'm at my wit's end right now. I've been dealing with, Juan for a couple years now, and right now I feel like what he got going on, his drug addiction, his substance abuse, his alcohol abuse, and just the mental health meltdowns that come with it, I'm done with him. And I'm here today for him to get drug tested and checked and to see if he's done with this too, because if he's not and his drug test comes back and it comes back positive, my children and I are gone. Poof, vamoose, deuces, out of here.
Well, in the words of my baby sister, Mr. Jeremiah, point blank, period. That's exactly what she's saying. If you can't step up and show her that you are serious about this relationship by not being a substance abuser, she wants to be out. What do you say to all of that, Mr. Jeremiah?
I would say to that the reason I'm here today is because, I've shown her in the past that, it's something that it's like I show that I love that. Really, I love them. I love, my wife. I love, my son, my kids. I don't love drugs. I want to leave them behind.
So before we ask one question, let me ask you straight up: are you still using right now?
I've been sober for about 3 months now.
Okay,
so
congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm happy to hear that.
I appreciate that. It's a little bit, but...
Ms. Edwards, I saw you gave a side eye because you're not so sure. Why don't you take me back to when you all first met, and then what led us to get to this point?
Well, yeah, I am not so sure because it's like, to me, it's given nasty cycle, repetitive behavior. So
it's what I like to call junkie shenanigans sometimes.
Yeah, okay, you said it. I was thinking it, you said it.
Okay.
Well, basically, him and I met a couple years back, in 2016 or whatever, we met. And we had a long distance relationship or whatever. Basically, I met him because he slid in my DMs. I'm not even gonna lie, he slid in the DMs. And I was like, look at me. A lot of dudes slide in my DMs. I don't mean I answer them. I'm confused. So I don't really answer DMs like that. I'm like, okay, if I answer every dude that slid in my DM, I'll be, Anyways, but, I decided to answer his DM. And it was an accident, too, when I picked up the FaceTime call on DM. Because, Insta, they do FaceTimes now at this point. I answered, I said, who? And I was ready to balk on him, get out of my DM. And then I answered, and he was fine. Your Honor, he was fine. I said, this who I've been ignoring all these months and stuff. He been hitting me up. I heard him out. And we met like that. And, fast forward, we decided, friends, we went from friends for a while. I was like, court me, let's talk, let's get to know one another. But I was pregnant, as well during the journey or whatever the case may be. So, I was respecting the fact that he didn't care about that. And, he knew that I wasn't involved with, the sperm donor that I was with, that I had the baby with at the time. And he was willing to take full responsibility of everything. And I was like, you a strong man and I want to,
So you all started dating while you were either pregnant with or just having given birth to
I just started
a baby.
Yeah.
Mr. Jeremiah, you decided to take on that responsibility?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Knowing full well that you might have to deal with a baby daddy situation?
Yeah, I do because in my mind, I'm the big dude, so he was not really something that worried me because that's she's the woman I want.
Excellent.
And so I don't really ever think about that. If I wanted.
So this is sounding a little bit like flowers and roses and little baby bunnies and everything is everything. But then, Miss Edwards, you say something changed.
Yeah, well, basically, like, my whole thing is I was raised in foster care. I was raised with, you know, other people and family and things like that or whatever the case may be. So I never really got the full concept of family, love, and, you know, things like that or whatever without the abuse. So now, me getting with him and him moving, he wound up leaving Tennessee and coming, making it from long distance to moving to Brooklyn with me and New York or whatever to start something, to be a stepfather figure to my children or whatever, and just be together with me or whatever. And basically, like...
When did you discover there was an issue with drugs?
So the first time that I discovered that it was an issue with drugs was when we went on our first date. He had just got into town or whatever, his first couple days, like his first two, 3 days in town or whatever. And he was like, I'm going shopping. You know, he woke up with good energy. I was like, damn, you know, I really never had a guy stay with me. And it's like, I'm going food shopping for this house. I'm going to get a couple of other things. I'm getting something for everybody. And he really went. He came back, had groceries for everybody and everything. I'm thinking, this is my dream man. I love it. He even had a jury, like, look, close your eyes. I was like, close your eyes vibes. Like, I'm thinking I'm living in awe. I closed my eyes. He opened his attendance rate, so he got me whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, you buying things. So now he said, I want to take you on a date. So I'm like, you know, I'm thinking steakhouse. I'm thinking, you know, big old lobsters. You know what I'm saying? Like
tennis bracelet to make you think that, okay?
Right. I said, yeah, we're gonna eat some lobsters. You know, Lamborghinis.
He was driving a Lamborghini?
No, I thought I thought we was gonna eat some Lamborghinis or whatever. You know, the noodles. Well, whatever. Anyway, I thought we was eating some fancy stuff, Your Honor. You know what I'm saying? I was thinking we was going down. But he just wanted to go to a burger
It just
shop.
hit me. You mean linguine.
That's the one, yeah.
Okay. Why don't you just say pasta and we all know what you mean?
Some pasta.
Okay.
Right, the noodles sounded like some pasta. Like
Gotcha.
the pasta. We went to the burger spot, so we ordered the food or whatever. We get to the table. He sleep in the burger, ketchup, all on his nose, all on his mouth, mustard. And then I tell him to wake up again. When I tell him to wake up again, he moved and he dropped the whole Sprite all over my whole dress. My whole clothes is all wet now.
Mr. Jaramillo.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened?
Honestly, don't remember that well.
But that scares me more than anything. Okay, so what happened on the date?
He said, no, babe, I want to go some burgers. So I'm like, you know, I was thinking bigger, but, you know, I could do burgers because look what you just did for the house. I mean, you know, got to respect a trying man. I love a trying man, you know? So I'm like, yo, let's go get some burgers. So that's what we did. We went to the burger spot, so we ordered the food or whatever. We get to the table or whatever, and as soon as the lady, she brings, you know, like while we ordering or whatever, before we like go sit down to wait for the food, we ordering at the front cashier or whatever, and he got his card and he's paying. He's Big Willie. He's just swiping that card away that day. So I'm like, yeah, go ahead, swipe. So he swiped, he paid. So I'm standing there, whatever. We get the receipt. So we stand there. So I'm waiting or whatever. So they say y'all can go to the table right there. So I'm like waiting for him to move. I look down. He's still standing there. He fell asleep. You know, like how they have like the little glass things right there? He had pig nose like this. He fell asleep on the glass. That's how hard his face was in it. And I was like, yo, wake up. What's up? What's good with you? And he was like, oh, no, I'm fine. So I'm thinking, like, am I dating somebody with sleep apnea or something? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like narcolepsy? Narcolepsy was like, that's what I'm thinking at first, you know?
Narcolepsy.
Right. I'm thinking that. But then, like, he like, no, I'm good. So I'm like, I'm tripping. I'm just bugging. I'm tripping. So we go to the table. We sit down, whatever. So now the food comes. So we got both the burgers there, whatever case. And we be sitting there. We talking. We really getting it. We really intertwining on ourselves and one another's styles, whatever, you know?
What happened?
So, no. So I go down to like, you know, like eat my burger. So when I look over to him, he sleep in the burger, ketchup, all on his nose, all on his mouth, mustard. And then I tell him to wake up again. When I tell him to wake up again, he moved and he dropped the whole Sprite all over my whole dress. My whole clothes is all wet now. I'm mad. I'm like, yo, I'm done with the whole date. I just want to leave. He ruined it.
Hold on. Just so that I'm clear. You had an expectation that you were going to a fancier restaurant,
yeah.
But then you ended up going to a fast food joint. You ordered your food. He fell asleep while ordering the food and then fell asleep while eating the food, which made you think that something was going on with him. Is that a fair summary of what occurred?
Absolutely.
Mr. Jaramillo.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened?
So yeah, I do remember that day. I do. Like, to be honest, I was intoxicated. Like,
to the point where you're falling asleep?
That's the thing. Like, I tell her a lot. Like, you know, you say it happened, like, and I'm sure it did because, you know, when you're a little bit too intoxicated, that happens. But I honestly don't remember that well.
But that scares me more than anything.
I
That
know.
you don't remember having fallen asleep two, three times in the middle of a date?
I kind of vaguely remember her like waking me up or something like that. But like as far as like me like literally like my face like falling into like some food or something like that's how I don't know. Maybe it did. But I've apologized to her before about that. This
So
happened,
what was
this happened maybe
what
like 3
kind
years
of
ago or so.
intoxication were you under? Because that was date one. What was that?
Right. I was so I had a Percocets addiction. So the Percocets, what they do is, they'll put you to sleep, whatever. And
Sir, they gave me Percocet after open heart surgery.
Oh yeah.
That means where they cut your chest open and disconnect your heart. So that's the kind of very strong drug they gave after open heart surgery.
When you drink it with 2 bottles of Grey Goose, it's different.
Oh my.
By yourself. So yeah.
It's a wonder that you were able to walk around.
Yes,
Okay. Mr. Jaramillo, what was going on in your life that you needed to self-medicate?
Just me coming up, like it was just kind of like tossed around, like.
Where was this normal at in the backyard with the hillbillies? Because when I'm in corporate America, New York, it is not normal to take all them drugs. I'm just saying.
If this is a problem, we need to resolve that before you even deal with a relationship. You know what I'm saying?
It was like having an extra child. Like, come on. Like, seriously, I got 3 kids, now 4.
So,
like, I'm finding
Ms.
stuff.
Edwards, I'm going to come to you because I'm going to keep it real. If this is the first date, why was there ever a second?
Well, to be honest with you, he had told me that he had an anxiety issue and that he was taking over-the-counter medication. And that they were prescribing him, various pills, Percocets, Xanax, whatever, all that stuff. They was prescribing him to get through his anxiety and his anxiousness and just
They don't give you
So-
Percocet for anxiety.
See, and I don't know that
Percocet
because
is
I'm
for
not
pain.
a pill person. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a pill person. So I don't know about that. I'm not a narcotic person. I suffer from those are my triggers, drug addiction, because I watched my mother literally be on drugs and all 4 of her children be separated in the
So
system.
I'm
I got siblings
surprised,
that
Ms.
know.
Edwards, I'm absolutely surprised that you would bring that into your home, having been through it as a child and knowing what the ramifications are, and you don't like that. The fact that you don't even know the difference between Percocet and Xanax, which is fine because you're not a druggie. So I'm looking at you wondering, why would you invite someone that you knew had some level of drug issues into your home, ma'am?
Well, to be honest with you, the thing is, like I said, I'm not really in the know when it comes down to that stuff, and more so, I was unknowledgeable about the level of pill addiction.
That is
drug
an
addiction.
excellent point, because
So-
a number of people don't understand that you
Yeah.
can be addicted to drugs that were prescribed by a doctor, that were prescribed for one reason, but then people are using them for other reasons.
Right, and then here I come off being an angry black woman because I want to be mad at my man, my husband, and beat him up and go crazy on him because he's taking his medication. We already got a stigma of being angry black women for every little thing, so I wasn't trying to be mad, but just get out. Had this man come all the way across the world from Tennessee to stay with me. You understand what I'm saying? Fast forward, we wound up having our own child together. We got a 14-month-old
I'm going to come over to Mr. Jaramillo. Mr. Jaramillo, you weren't honest with Miss Edwards in the beginning about what was going on with you and drugs. Am I correct?
I mean, I feel like I was pretty honest from the jump because, I was always telling her, I smoke weed, I take Molly, I sip lean, I take perks and all that.
Mr. Jaramillo, what was going on in your life that you needed to self-medicate with Percocet and Molly and weed and et cetera?
I mean, I don't know. It's like I'm getting all these ooh-ahs, but back when I was coming up,
Don't pay attention to anybody else.
It was pretty normal, man. I guess now people are a little bit more like health conscious and things like that, but just me coming up, it was just kind of like tossed around,
Where was this normal at in the backyard with the hillbillies? Because when I'm in corporate America, New York, it is not normal to take all them drugs. I'm just saying.
Miss Edwards,
I'm
one
sorry.
moment. No. You have a right to be frustrated. But Mr. Jaramillo, you and I are going to have this conversation because if this is a problem, we need to resolve that before you even deal with a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You got to get healthy.
Yeah, well, I want to get clean. I don't want to continue to, you know, I love my family. I don't love drugs.
Okay,
I feel like I have a problem with drug addiction, but you know, I don't love drugs. I love, you know, my wife and I love my kids, so I want to leave them behind.
So what I'm saying to you, that is not normal. So see, one of the things you have to do when you're trying to battle something and get through it and get over it is acknowledge your part that you play in it. You see what I mean?
Oh, and I acknowledge it.
So what I'm
much.
saying is, it's not just passed around. What was going on in your life? What were you feeling? What was happening emotionally that made you want to self-medicate? I'm asking about you, sir.
To be honest, like, you know, I think people hide behind that, and I think it's the fact that I just enjoy the high. And if there is a reason that's underlying, I don't know what it is.
That's fair. That's
and I want to be a real
fair.
one and just say that, but I don't love them enough to where I would swap them out and just choose them over my son, over my kids, and my wife. That's also like the mother of my son. I wouldn't do that.
So I'm listening to you, and I want to hear from Ms. Edwards how this choice of yours has manifested itself in your lives, because everything from Valentine's Day to your son's birthday has been impacted. Why don't you share with the court?
Yes, I was doing my job as a partner, cleaning up the house or whatever, and I go and I'm making up the bed, I flip the sheets, I see 2 pills fall out the blanket, and at that time, my youngest child is 1 year old. So it's like, I come to him and I approach him or whatever, and he was like, oh, I'm sorry, I would never do that again, I apologize. And I said, next time you getting out, I'm not dealing with this, because I don't want to go to jail for my 1-year-old popping the ecstasy pill. I could kill them. This is your last time. There are no 3 strikes. Your last time.
Okay.
I see something else like this in my house, you gotta go. And surely, moving forward, a couple weeks later or so, again found it, and I said, you gotta go. So
what did you
out.
find 2 weeks later?
Some more ecstasy pills.
So I'm going
on
to
the
turn
floor by the bed this time.
Now I'm going to turn back to Mr. Jaramillo. You said that you love your wife and you love your son more than you love drugs, but clearly drugs were winning that right then.
You know, these are things that happened maybe like 3 years ago or so. So
you're saying this is not current information?
It's kind of old information, but it doesn't matter that it's old. It's still a validated
Our son's
reason.
birthday just passed in November. This is current. Like, in the average drug addict mind, when they do stuff to you, it could be like literally a month ago. It could be like literally it happened like a month ago. They'll be telling people like it happened 10 years ago. No, this recently happened. I went on Valentine's Day with him, thinking we were gonna have a great time. You know, I went because they got my favorite lemon pepper wings at the spot, so I went to go get my lemon peppers. You feel what I'm saying?
I feel you.
Like, so I have him go. I go there all the time. Now I can't even go back on that block no more.
What
I'm
happened?
embarrassed because we get into it, we having a good time. He's sober, he's like not drinking or whatever. I'm sitting there eating with him. He says, hey, I want to go outside and go smoke my black and mild a little bit, because he was having a black and mild thing at the time. I was like, cool, go ahead, you can't smoke inside. So he goes outside, and while he went outside, after 10 minutes passed, I'm still eating. I hear people saying, yo, he crazy. Yo, then he's going crazy outside. So I'm laughing because I'm thinking it's somebody else. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's crazy. So after like 20 minutes, I said, he still ain't come back. Let me go look check. So I stuck my head to the door. He's crazy. Everybody was talking about him. He was outside flipping, punching the wall. His fist was so bloody, bleeding, like dripping down blood. He was like, they stole my phone, get away from me. He even shoved me. I was like, yo, what's wrong with you? He was like, they shoved my phone. When I looked, the liquor bottles, he had snuck to the liquor store and bought 4 nips of Grey Goose, and he had drunk them real fast, and in the midst of that, lost his cell phone in the liquor store. He came back and he was bugging out, having an episode like somebody stole his phone and was punching the wall. He embarrassed me.
Next time on Divorce Court.
I do drugs, but I don't.
But wait a minute, you started out by telling me you were 3 months sober.
I am 3 months sober. That's what I'm saying.
So I'm going to ask for somebody who's got a whole lot more experience than me. I have asked Dr. Jackson to join us so that I can ask these questions. How can Mr. Jaramillo effectively manage without previously on Divorce Court?
I'm fed up. I'm at my wit's end right now. I feel like what he got going on, his drug addiction, his substance abuse, his alcohol abuse, the mental health meltdowns that come with it, I'm done with them.
Mr. Jaramillo, what was going on in your life that you needed to self-medicate?
Just me coming up, you know, like it was just kind of like tossed around, you know, like.
Where was this normal at, in the backyard with the hillbillies? Because when I'm in corporate America, New York, it is not normal to take all them drugs. I'm just saying.
If this is a problem, we need to resolve that before you even deal with a relationship. You know what I'm saying?
I went on Valentine's Day with him, thinking we were gonna have a great time. I'm sitting there eating with him. He says, hey, I wanna go outside and go smoke my black and mild a little bit, because he was having a black and mild thing at the time. I was like, cool, go ahead, you can smoke inside. So after like 20 minutes, I said, he still ain't come back. Let me go look check. So I stuck my head to the door. He was outside flipping, punching the wall. His fist was so bloody. He had snuck to the liquor store, bought 4 nips of Grey Goose, and he had drunk them real fast, and in the midst of that, lost his cell phone in the liquor store. He came back and he was bugging out, having an episode like somebody stole his phone and was punching the wall. He embarrassed me.
He didn't just embarrass you, but he put himself in a situation where he could have been in, I think you know I was a former prosecutor in New York. You could have been arrested and put in on a mental hold for that kind of behavior.
He's been on mad mental holds. That's nothing new. I'm tired of that behavior.
Come on, Mr. Jaramillo, talk to me. What was happening? Why this episode that's recent, according to you?
This was 2021, so again, it's kind of like outdated information, but it's still relevant because, you know, but I was, you know, I do remember that I lost my phone. I don't remember really to the extent how, but that night I did.
So you're telling me this didn't happen in the most recent Valentine's?
No.
This is a past Valentine's.
Or 2021, maybe, yeah.
So you've gotten through these episodes, is what you're saying?
We had a pretty good Valentine's Day this past one, actually. But.
It was 2023 Valentine's Day. I know it felt like 2021, but it was 2023's Valentine's Day, right? Yeah, so then that happened. And then this Valentine's Day, you know, was definitely not that. And I appreciate him, which is why I see that he has try in him. He has some type of potential, you know. But then moving forward, my son's birthday, you know, my son turned 1 year old. And his family came from out of town from Tennessee to come and visit. And they don't come all the time like that. They live all the way in Tennessee. We live in Brooklyn. You know, they come all the way down.
What happened at the birthday?
So basically, we was all there. And that's my son.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my son right there. Is, you know, it's
a little boy right there.
Anyways, they come all the way down.
Thank you.
So we can have a birthday party. This is here at one of the birthday venues for him, which he wasn't able to make because he was at work that night, because he was at that time working before he got fired again. He was at work that night, so he couldn't make it. So the following day, the parents and the family and I decided at my apartment we were gonna do a second birthday there. You know, like a home birthday. So we doing it or whatever the case may be. He's there at this time or whatever. Everyone's, you know, singing happy birthday. We got the cake, you know, in there. I look over to my right. I'm like, happy. He's like, happy. Nodding out on the happy birthday. So I'm like, yo, mind you, our car at the time had just got taken. The push present that he got for me just got repossessed. You know, we had it for a year, it got repossessed. So now we looking forward because the family always never let us down. They always make sure and they always tell him, like, we're not hurting, we're not broke, but as long as you're doing the right thing by you and your child or whatever your family, we always gonna be willing to extend our olive branch and help you with stuff. But you show us yourself like this, we don't want nothing to do with it.
So let me guess, the falling asleep.
So he embarrassed me and fell asleep like 3 times during singing happy birthday in front of them. And then like the 3rd time, they was like, oh, all right, they didn't even hardly had no cake. They was like, all right, they got their coats, like we leaving, all right, we'll see y'all later. And I felt so bad.
So your family
like,
was embarrassed?
I don't have family like that. That is my family now, whether he likes it or not. So you pushing them away, it makes me feel like you taking a part of something
Ms. Edwards, Mr. Jaramillo needs to answer for himself.
I was working at the time. I remember I was tired. And to be honest, like, they never really expressed, like, because, you know, I kind of have to, you know, I got to defend myself here, too. So it's like...
I don't know. I don't understand why you think it's a joke. This is serious. This is your life.
Right, right. So I was on Seroquel that day, right? So, but I also worked. So it's not that I was really high, but it's like it makes you sleepy.
You were on what?
I was on Seroquel.
It's a sleeping pill, but why take a sleeping pill of Seroquel at 3 in the afternoon? What are you taking Seroquel at 2 in the afternoon for?
That's a very good question.
Right, because I was kind of like trying to stop taking the Percocets and things like that. So, you know, I got Seroquel because I've been given that in the past. Actually, in rehabs, I've been to rehabilitation centers in my life before that where I've been given this.
Okay,
before.
so at this point, while you are trying to stop taking other drugs, why have you not checked yourself into a rehabilitation center?
I have a lot. I've been in about 4.
Since he's been here, it's been about 3 or 4 he's been in.
Okay, so, Mr. Jaramillo, I'm coming back to it. It sounds like you detox, but then you don't follow through.
That's what happens, yeah. I'll get clean.
So then that means you're not in rehab. That means you detox, meaning clean your body out. But by the way, your movements right now, while you're looking at me, make me think that you are still using drugs. I'm telling you, your movements are giving that to me. So, having been in a situation where I have been around a number of people who have used drugs, you're giving me that energy, and I don't know if it's true or not.
It's true. I mean, I do drugs, but I don't.
But wait a minute, you started out by telling me you were 3 months sober.
I am 3 months sober. That's what I'm saying.
You're 3 months sober?
Do you know that the residual, so I've taken, Xanax and Percocet for at least 10 years, well, not 10 years, maybe like 6, That stuff residually, if you read it and things like that, the residual effects are pretty lingering and things like that.
No,
On top of the fact that I've never like really been in this kind of scenario, so I'm also a little bit nervous, to be honest with you. But,
what kind of scenario? Where you're talking about your life?
I've never really done this.
Okay,
so
which I appreciate.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be like.
But I think I'm being respectful, and I think that I'm treating you with dignity and empathy, right? So this is not a joke for me.
It's not a joke for me either.
So then focus on what I'm saying to you. Focus on me. Don't focus on nobody else. Focus on me. So I'm going to ask for somebody who's got a whole lot more experience than me.
My name is Dr. Ulysses Jackson. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and a certified substance abuse counselor.
How can Mr. Jaramillo effectively manage work stress and family pressures?
He needs a support system, and addiction is usually a family disease. It affects the family.
What I'm trying to say to you is, I'm worried about you as a young man, that you are dangerously moving towards addict, or you are there right now. So I'm going to ask for somebody who's got a whole lot more experience than me to come and shed some light on what true addiction looks like, if that's okay with you.
That is great. Whatever is going to bring us to progression, I am down. I want my family. That's the only family I have.
So this is what we're going to do. I have asked Dr. Jackson to join us. He's unable to join us here live, but he can join me virtually so that I can ask these questions. Dr. Jackson, are you available for the testimony in the court today? Thank you so very much.
Yes, I am.
So will you do me a favor and state your name and your credentials?
My name is Dr. Ulysses Jackson. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and a certified substance abuse counselor.
And as
specialization in behavioral science with a PhD in behavior.
And I understand you have an expertise in alcoholism and substance abuse, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely.
So you've been listening to the testimony. I asked you to do that earlier. How can Mr. Jaramillo effectively manage work stress and family pressures without turning to drugs? Because that is what I'm hearing in everything this young man has said.
Well, from what I'm gathering, he needs a support system. And the addiction is usually a family disease. It affects the family. As his partner has been saying, she's been very, very aggravated about his substance use, which means she's going to be a big part of the support group. So they're going to have some type of understanding of what's triggering him to do that. And I would go into recommending that network would be such as Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, and Al-Anon for the family, so she can understand when he's drunk or when he's on Percocet, so she can identify these substances better herself too.
Absolutely, so that she is not left out in the dark. And admittedly, she is not somebody who is familiar with drugs, and so whatever information the defendant is giving her, she's just taking it at face value and then watching behaviors.
Yes.
So, Dr. Jackson, what role do you think Mrs. Edwards should be playing in supporting her husband's path to sobriety? Because when she came into this court, Ms. Edwards said she wants her family. She did not want to break up her family, but she cannot take this kind of behavior anymore. I just want to make sure she has some real behavior strategies for herself.
It's identifying a trigger. She may be part of the trigger now that it's later on in the relationship and the child is here. So she has to understand, well, but she's triggering him where he doesn't want to come home or he stays out late. She has to understand what is his triggers that's triggering his behavior and understanding what, his substance use. Because it's a difference between nodding and being drunk. And Al-Anon and these support network groups will let them know where it's going. And as far as him, his follow-up with individual counseling and a support group is going to help him stay in line.
I, am an addict. And it's really hard for me to sit here in a room and say that, but it's the facts.
And that's the first step to healing. The second step was saying, I want some help.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Edwards, your responsibility is to make sure your children are safe.
Right.
And that is why this court did a drug test. So this sounds like you have some practical steps for Mr. Jaramillo to avoid relapse, especially during those high stress times, because I want this young man to have his own strategies in place.
Yes, you have to also be aware of people, places, and things that's going to get him activated to trigger him off. Like being in a restaurant and just leaving going to the liquor store, that's behavioral issue. You know, we want to have to identify what was making you want to go out and do that while you're in an intimate setting, getting ready to eat with your partner. You know, so we're going to have to go into those triggers, you know, and understanding the dynamics of people, places, and things being a detrimental part of his addiction.
Is there anything else that you would like to add in this situation, sir?
Yeah, I would just be willing to work with Mr. Jaramillo, you know, again, provide some sessions for him to make sure he stays online, to try to get him rolled and get him in line, because I am in the Brooklyn area.
I would like to work with you.
Yes.
So, Mr. Jaramillo, Dr. Jackson, I really appreciate, Dr. Jackson, your willingness to take this case on. Mr. Jaramillo, I heard you pipe right up that you'd like to work with Dr. Jackson.
I do. Like, I have come to terms with that, the fact that I, you know, am an addict. And it's really hard for me to sit here in a room and say that, but it's the facts. And
that's the first step to healing.
Yeah.
Is for you to say that.
It's like you can be sober, you can live in sobriety, you can live by the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Like, I've seen people do that.
But you're going to also absolutely have to have some strategies in place, like Dr. Jackson
a lot of strategies in place, yes.
laid out. Dr. Jackson, I thank you again for your willingness to help Mr. Jaramillo.
Thank you.
And I'm going to provide you with all the information that will connect you with this family, if that's okay.
Yes, thank you. I'll be looking forward to it.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. We appreciate it. You know, Mr. Jaramillo, Miss Edwards, the first step was you admitting that you have a problem. The second step
I know I have a problem.
Was saying, I want some help.
Yes, I do.
But the third step, and an important step, is identifying whether or not you are even acknowledging to yourself that you have moved to the next level, meaning that you are clean and you are not a liar.
Right.
And that is why this court did a drug test.
Okay.
So at this time, I'd like to have the results of those drug tests.
All right.
Ms. Edwards, in order for you to move forward, you're going to have to be a contributing partner in his rehab, depending on what you want to do. Of course you may.
And I didn't mean to, that was rude to interrupt you.
No, it wasn't. Go right ahead.
Let me just say that she is really supportive, you know, of me and my sobriety and things like that. Like, you know, I think sometimes it's like I was having a conversation with her last night. I feel like sometimes it's kind of weird because it's like I have to fight myself. Like, it's like sometimes me versus myself. When you hear that phrase, I feel like that's me.
Well, sir, that's what happens when you are addicted. Yes.
Yeah. You know, so.
Well, basically, can I snowball off that? My whole thing is, like, I'm in agreement of what you're saying, but it's pretty frustrating because I am his, you know, accountability partner when it comes down to him, like, seeming as though he's gotten high or he's trying to get high or he wants to. And especially after he relapses, like, I have those conversations with him, and he somehow tries to make me seem like, through like psychology, like that you're talking to me, you're breaking me down, you're belittling me the way you're talking. But I tell him, if you was in rehab, that's the same way these counselors and these sponsors are gonna speak to you, and not even cursing, but just being firm and assertive and being like, hey, you know you messed up, right? And here's what you have to do. I'm not accepting this. I'm not. And it's like, see how you talk to me? I can't even get, you know what I'm saying? I ain't even nobody. I can't. And it's like, stop trying to make me feel like me handling you the correct way when you have clearly relapsed or fell in that department, that I'm being too rough on you. No, there is no such thing. I'm not being physical. I'm not putting my hands on you because there's an anger factor. But my whole thing is, I'm not really trying to go too much into it, but you better pass this drug test. That's all I know, because you've been sitting here saying that you've been clean for 3 months. So
I am going to pass it.
Like,
Let's go to the results.
All right.
Mr. Jaramillo, you say you've been clean for 3 months. Prior to coming to court today, you agreed to take a drug test.
Yes.
The results reveal you tested positive for THC, barbiturates, methadone, Oxycontin, opiates, cocaine, and PCP substances in your system.
How is that?
Because you are an addict and you have done drugs in the past 3 months. That's why it's in your system. You have. Don't look at me like you don't know this. You know that you've done drugs.
I haven't done
You've done drugs,
cocaine
sir.
and all that.
See, that's it. Excuse me. Miss Edwards, you asked for my help. Mr. Jaramillo, you lied.
Ecstasy, yeah.
Mr. Jaramillo, you lied. You have done drugs in the last 3 months. Stand in accountability. If you say you want help, you must stand in accountability. You need to go for detox and continuous rehab. Sir, you will kill yourself if you don't get clean, period. And she's not the one that's being hard on you right now. I am. It's called tough love because anybody that cares anything about you does not want you to end up in the street. You need to get your behind to detox and rehab and really make an effort.
Yes,
Do you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Make an effort.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Edwards, until he has a clean drug test, you need to take care of your children. That's what you need to do. And I know this is harsh, but I'm going to speak to you the way you want people to be tough love on him. Your responsibility is to make sure your children are safe. And if you have people in your home who are actively doing drugs that you cannot trust, you are not keeping your children safe. You know the experience better than anyone because you shared it with me. You told me that you grew up in foster care. You don't want that kind of stuff for your kids. You want your children to have a stable life. You want them to have a mother that they can be proud of, a father that they can look up to. He's not ready. Your responsibility as a mother is to make sure those kids come first. That's it.
Yes, ma'am.
That's it.
Yes, ma'am.
That's it. That's not an angry black woman. That's a black mother. And you better put your big girl shoes on and make that your job. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
That's your job.
Yes.
Mr. Jaramillo, I want you to get into rehab. I want you to work with Dr. Jackson. But more importantly, until you can be the man that you're supposed to be, that you can be, you need to stay as far away from this lady and those children because no more toxicity. Not in that house. It is dangerous because you're being irresponsible. And until you can be responsible, you do not have a place in her house or her heart. It's time to go. That's my verdict.
Take all your stuff, go, and don't worry about seeing your son.
Mrs. Moore says her husband is an irresponsible cheater with a drinking problem who conveniently forgot to tell her about his other wife. Today on Divorce Court.
All rise. The Honorable Judge Starr presiding.
Hello, everyone. You may be seated.
Your Honor, the case of Moore v. Moore.
Thank you very much. We have a married couple in front of us today that are in divorce court, and we are very glad to have you both, and thank you for trusting us with your relationship. Today, we are looking at a case that involves allegations of lying, distrust, and recklessness when it comes to behavior. So we'll find out what this relationship has going on and if it's going to last the test of time. Mrs. Moore, I understand you all have been together for 23 years, married for 17 years, Mr. Moore. You have 2 children together, and you each have children from previous relationships. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Mrs. Moore, why are we in court today?
Well, Your Honor, I am here because My husband is a habitual liar.
Oh, my goodness.
He cheats and he drinks excessively sometimes. And so I'm just at the point of no return in the marriage, and I feel like it's time for us to separate and be divorced.
I see that you have brought divorce papers to court, and that usually means that the plaintiff, when they bring divorce papers in, they're serious about this relationship being at the end of its rope. Am I correct?
That's correct.
I'm going to go over here to Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, you heard what your wife said. What do you say, sir?
I want to save our marriage because I know that I'm not perfect and I made some mistakes in my life, but the things that I love her with all my heart, and she's always been the woman of my dreams and always the woman of my desires.
So I'm going to go on over here to Miss Moore. Miss Moore, why don't you take me back to how did you all meet and what led to the point where you say this man is not the man of your dreams but a habitual liar?
Yes. Mr. Moore and I met in high school.
Okay.
So we've been knowing each other over half of our lives. We reconnected as adults at church. We saw each other. He was a cameraman at the church. He went to a different church service than I normally go to. And we saw each other and hugged, and it was just a magical hug. And from that day forward, we began to date and have a relationship.
What did you know about Mr. Moore in the interim from, high school until you reconnected again?
I didn't know much because I had not seen him since high school until we reconnected. But after we began to date, we dated about 3 years off and on, and I found out that he was already married.
Wow. Wait, so are you telling me you were not intentionally the side chick?
I was not intentionally the side chick. I thought I was the top chick.
Were y'all living together at the time?
No, we were not.
Interesting. Mr. Moore. Mrs. Moore says that before she became Mrs. Moore, there was another Mrs. Moore that you didn't tell her about.
That is true. It was through I had a college friend that I married, and it was arranged marriage. It wasn't a serious marriage.
What does that mean?
That means that we had got married and we had separated for good, and I couldn't get in contact with her and she couldn't get in contact with me.
So in other words, you all never lived together as husband and wife?
No, we didn't. Nope.
And how long after you married this college relationship did you start dating the now Mrs. Moore?
I want to say about 3 years. About 3 years after that, that's when we started dating, and I knew that was the woman of my life and my dreams, and that's when I really took it serious.
So why didn't you tell her?
Because I was afraid. I didn't know what. I just was afraid.
But you knew you could never go forward with a full relationship with her while this fake marriage was pending. You know what I mean?
Yes, it was a lie that I was living. And at the time that I didn't know that I was going to fall in love with her. I knew that I liked, from the start when I seen her, I fell in love with her. But I didn't know the feelings that I was feeling until it came to the point where it was kind of late and where I'd already had been in this lie.
And so you basically felt boxed in?
Pretty much, yes.
How'd you find out?
Your Honor, let me tell you, we were dating and we were getting serious, and then all of a sudden his communication just dropped off. I didn't know what happened, and I get a call from this lady, and she tells me that he was in jail and that he had been married the whole time. She did tell me, that they didn't have that kind of relationship, but...
Wait, this was the actual wife that called you? Oh, Lord, that's bold. Keep going.
Yes. So, Your Honor, I would not have believed it if she had not told me herself. And so because of that, I decided, okay, you're going to get a divorce. I'm going to forgive you, and we're going to move forward.
Just my question. What was a lady calling you about to tell you that he was in jail?
She told me that he had already told her about me and that he told her that he loved me.
Okay.
And she told me the whole situation, that they had never lived together as a married couple. And because of that, I decided to move forward.
Did you bail him out?
No, absolutely not.
I was hoping not, because I was about to say, let your fake wife bail you out. At least one last thing she could do. But y'all had to get through that, as I can imagine.
Yes.
Okay, so you did, because we are here now.
Yes.
Did the lies continue?
They continued.
Okay.
They continued. Okay, so then he's lied off and on throughout the whole marriage. Like, it's been a consistent thing. He had an ex.
Another ex? Mr. Moore.
She came to my apartment and wrecked it. Tore it up because she didn't believe, and that's just in the beginning when I'm telling her, like, I wasn't cheating, I wasn't doing anything. But she didn't believe me then.
I did actually caught him cheating.
You actually caught him?
Yes.
So now what does that look like when you say you actually caught him?
So he has an ex that he continuously talks to whenever we have rough patches. He talks to this particular ex. He will sit outside in the car and talk to her for hours. At one point, Your Honor, he even took his things to her house, moved them into her house.
Mr. Moore, why are you still in communication with an ex?
Well, let me take you to the beginning.
Okay, I want to hear.
Our relationship was like when we were dating, I had my apartment, and we were dating. I gave her a key to my apartment, and I was charging my phone. I went to a picnic with one of my friends, and she couldn't get a hold of me. She came to my apartment and wrecked it. Tore it up because she didn't believe, and that's just in the beginning when I'm telling her, like, I wasn't cheating, I wasn't doing anything, but she didn't believe me then. And so the allegations has been against me since then.
So I'm thinking, even though the now Mrs. Moore says that she forgave you and y'all got through that initial lie, there was always something in the back of your mind thinking he's lying or he's doing something or he's sneaky. You know, people say that they can forgive, but they never forget.
Exactly. Yes, Joe.
And the only way you get through it is to prove that you are trustworthy. So
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out what would make her not trust you.
Well, the thing, I think, because, like, she's a barber. She's around men all the time, and I never put any allegations on her. Like, even one time, one of her barber friends said, hey, can you make me some food for my birthday? She said yes. She took it over there, and she was gone for 3 hours.
So do you actually believe that Mrs. Moore
I never
was
believe.
stepped out?
I never believe these things because it's just, but the allegations are there.
Wait.
Yes.
Why don't you believe it?
Because I think the fear of me thinking about it and trying to pursue it, like to say.
Your Honor, I've
No.
never cheated on him.
No,
Never.
the answer is you don't think it because it's not in her character to
No.
do that.
It's-
She's never given you any reason to really
Never.
believe it.
It's kind of hard to say because the friend that I know that he is like a womanizer, and like he dated most of her friends, and she was gone for 3 hours.
Mr. Moore, I'm still waiting to hear. I don't want you. I don't want you
having a good
to.
time, Your Honor.
Right.
That's
I
why
don't
I
want
didn't
you
come
to think
back.
that I forgot.
Okay.
One moment. I didn't forget. Why are you in the car with your ex
Well,
having
okay,
conversations? Because remember, you said, let me take you back. I'm
Right,
not interested
okay.
in
The-
the rest of it. I'm interested to know why you continue to have a long relationship with this ex.
But that's not true. Like, she will call me every so often, but it wasn't a thing where I was talking to her all the time.
You took your belongings over to her home?
Well, she was a friend of my family's, so she called and said, hey, I understand that you and your wife are having some problems.
Why does she know your business?
Because my sister, because she called my sister, her and my sister are friends. And my sister said, hey, I want Brian to come to the house. Because him and his
Your
wife
Honor, I call him cheating
him and his wife,
One moment.
him and his wife had got into it, and he won't come to my house. I don't want him sleeping in the car because it's cold. She called me and said, hey, I just bought a house. The house is empty. You can go to the house. She said, I just went through a divorce, and so I'm helping. I want to help you so you cannot do anything, so you won't do anything crazy.
So now here's my question, Mr.
Yes.
Moore. If your now wife decided y'all going through a rough patch, and she called an ex who had a nice house and told her, that's okay, you know, I just want to make sure you taken care of. You can come and stay at my house. How would you feel about that?
I would feel probably the same way as well.
Okay.
But it was innocent. It was definitely innocent.
But that is a reason why she
Your
does
Honor,
not trust
he
you.
actually did cheat. I did actually caught him cheat.
You actually caught him?
Yes,
So
one-
now what does that look like when you say you actually caught him?
My husband didn't come home all night. I open up the front door, I see something in the front yard. I'm looking. He in the front yard, laid out, covered with puke. I said, where's your car? He don't know where the car is. Where's our son? Once Brian said that he wanted to go visit his grandma. The grandma lived in another state. Now our family never met the grandma before because she lived in another state. And it was very suspicious that he wanted to go and meet this and go to see the grandma without us because our family does everything together. He went to another barber. Now, he told you I was his barber, right? He came home with a haircut from another barber. I said, where you going? He got on nice clothes. I don't know what's in the bag. He's gone, right? So I accepted. I let him go. We talked on the phone the whole way there. He told me he was about 30 minutes away. The communication stopped. I'm calling. Your Honor, I'm so worried. I'm thinking he's in a ditch. Something's bad has happened to him. He finally calls back the next day. Oh, yeah, I pulled over on the side of the road because I was tired and I went to sleep. 30 minutes away from the grandma's house? Okay. So he comes back home after this trip. We making love, and my pH is so off. I'm like, something is going on here. Finally, after I find the messages in his phone from this woman, he admitted that he slept with the lady.
Tag, you're it, Mr. Moore.
Yeah, that's not actually how everything went. It was like we were having trouble in our marriage, and like she had stopped coming home for like 3 or 4 months.
You're lying.
She had stopped coming home. She started hanging out with her sister a lot, and she wouldn't come home. And so at this point,
wait, are you really telling me that Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Was not living in the home with you?
No, she was living there. She just stopped coming home. Like she would come home, and then when I got off work, she would leave.
So in other words, she didn't want to be bothered with you during that time period. Is that what you're saying?
She didn't want to be bothered, so because whatever the disagreement that we had, she was just like, I'm over this, and so at that moment, I told her that I was going to see my grandmother. She knew my grandmother. She met my grandmother.
I did not.
And so happened that I ran into a friend of mine that I met when I lived in that city when I was younger. We actually met with friends, and then she said, "Hey, let's go back to my house," and we was talking.
Then there we go.
And then actually I had a couple drinks, and one thing led to another.
So one thing didn't lead to another. You set in motion that you were going to have an illicit relationship with somebody, and I can tell you how I know that to be fact because you got all pretty in order to go.
I didn't go. My wife cut my hair.
I did not.
She did cut my hair because
You're lying.
I went to the barbershop.
To another barber.
No, I went to the barbershop where you worked and you cut my hair. She cut my hair.
The thing that makes me laugh about this is somebody's gaslighting somebody. The woman knows if she cut your hair on the trip that she is bringing up, that you went to the grandmother's, but you really didn't go to the grandmother's. You really went and hooked up with another lady. She remembers that you came looking good and another barber cut your hair.
Yes, he came to my job. So that's like a lie that's
not necessary.
But why would I go to her job and get
you already had that haircut when you came to my barbershop. And I was like, you went to another barber?
She remembers this, Mr. Moore. I'm curious. You say that there's drinking involved, and I want to find out what the real core of these problems are.
Your Honor, my husband is not, he will say he's not an alcoholic, but when he drinks, he becomes angry, he's mean, and it makes it so hard for me to just be myself. Like he'll say that I'm picking with him, that I'm judging him, and I'm just being me, but I have to walk on eggshells around him when he's drinking.
So I'm going to turn to Mr. Moore first and say, do you think you have an alcohol problem?
No, I don't have an alcohol problem. I actually went to AA, and they asked me why was I here, because I wanted to prove a point.
That don't make sense, because I'm going to tell you right now, AA don't operate like that. They
Right,
don't say
exactly.
the first thing that AA is about is no judgment.
Right.
Okay, that's the first thing. So when you walk in the door, they're not asking you to prove your alcoholism. They're asking you to find your own truth.
Okay.
So here's my question. If you go to Alcoholics Anonymous, did you ever participate? Did you ever do any of the therapeutic steps?
Yes, I did. I did the therapeutic steps. That
So
they
you
asked me.
say you don't have a problem with alcohol?
I don't have a problem with alcohol. I would say I have a problem with alcohol far as mixed drinks. So if I'm mixing, because I'm not an alcoholic, so if I drink, then
Your
if
Honor,
it's something...
he lost his truck, his son, and had an accident under the
Wait a minute,
influence.
that sounds like somebody got a problem with liquor,
Yes.
okay? So help me to understand. Give me a real example of what makes you say he has a problem with alcohol.
Your Honor, one morning, my husband didn't come home all night. I open up the front door, I see something in the front yard, I'm looking. I said, is that him in the front yard? He in the front yard, laid out, covered with puke. I'm like, what? I go out there, I get him up. I said, where's your car? He don't know where the car is. Where's our son?
Wait, he had the
The
baby?
son was gone too. He don't know where, and he had an accident that night. So took us a few hours to figure it out, but he ended up, the truck was in the middle of the street running on the other side of the cul-de-sac. And the son was at his mom's house.
That's not true. So, like, I had went to a 4th of July party with my son, and they had, like, lemonade mixed drinks. And so I'm not an alcoholic, so what I'm trying to say is that the mixed drink tastes like lemonade. So I had 2 of them. And so it did make me a little bit intoxicated. And I did drop my son off at my mother's house.
Your Honor,
And I
our
just
son
didn't
was
remember.
like 7 at the time.
Wait a minute, 1 second. You dropped your 7-year-old off at his grandmother's house?
Yes.
And you didn't remember that?
And I did not remember.
That means you was drunk as Cootie Brown.
I was.
Okay.
I was. And just so I was told that that's what I was laying at our house in the front yard. But when I woke up, I was in the middle of the street in my car. And so from that point on, I don't drink like that.
He lying.
No, I don't drink like that.
He do.
Next time on Divorce Court.
Let me tell you the last time he was drinking. That's basically the final straw, Your Honor. He started yelling, cussing. He slammed on the brakes in the middle of the highway.
I'm glad your daughter is here. I want to hear from her.
Yes.
Because maybe she can give me some insight as to what she has seen over the years, because this doesn't even seem like friends anymore.
When he did drink, he would be very angry. And so that would lead to different aggressive behaviors and him kicking in doors. So it did affect me as an adult.
It definitely hurts to hear that.
The things that we've been through have changed me so much. I'm not the same woman that he married. I need my girls to see me be strong and not take no more.
Previously on Divorce Court.
I'm just at the point of no return in the marriage, and I feel like it's time for us to separate and be divorced.
I want to save our marriage because I know that I'm not perfect and I made some mistakes in my life.
Did the lies continue?
Finally, after I find the messages in his phone from this woman, he admitted that he slept with the lady.
You say that there's drinking involved.
When he drinks, he becomes angry, he's mean.
I would say I have a problem with alcohol far as mixed drinks. Then
Your
if
Honor,
it's something...
he lost his truck, his son, and had an accident under
Wait
the
a minute,
influence.
that sounds like somebody got a problem with
Yes.
liquor, okay? You dropped your 7-year-old off at his grandmother's house.
Yes.
And you didn't remember that?
And I did not remember.
That means you was drunk as Cootie Brown.
I was. And so from that point on, I don't drink like that.
He lying.
No, I don't drink like that.
He do. Let me tell you the last time he was drinking. That's basically the final straw, Your Honor.
When was this?
This was last year on our anniversary.
So that's very recent now, Ms.
Yes,
Moore.
last year on our anniversary, Your Honor. Brian made all the plans for the anniversary. We had been going through so much trouble, so much chaos in the home, and so I didn't participate in it. you know, in the arrangements of whatever we were gonna do for the anniversary, I said, we're gonna do something, you plan it. So he did, and he just wasn't happy with his selections or whatever he was doing. When I came home from work, I could already tell that he had been drinking. He was already in a mood, and he said I was taking too long to get ready. I worked 2 jobs that day. And so fast forward till we get to the restaurant, right? On the way to the restaurant, I could tell he had an attitude. He dropped me off at the door. He took like 40 minutes to come in. What? When he came into the restaurant, Your Honor, I was just like looking at him like, oh my God, this might not be a good night. We're at the restaurant. He has 2 more drinks. When we leave the restaurant, he's in a nasty mood. Nasty. He's pouting. His face is turned up like this.
What a yucky anniversary.
So I just bust out laughing, because I done had a drink too. So I laughed. Oh, it sent him into, he got so irate. He started yelling, cussing. He slammed on the brakes in the middle of the highway. We almost were hit by another car. So I say, pull over and let me out. Because we have 2 children at home that we have to get back. I have to get back home to these kids. I said, if you gonna go to hell, you going by yourself. I ain't going to hell with you. So he pulled over, he let me out, Your Honor, and then he pulled off and left me. I could feel the rocks hitting my legs. He pulled off so fast. Now, I'm in a dress and heels because it's our anniversary. I got to walk 8 blocks with a phone on 4%. Not to mention the fact, Your Honor, we were in a whole nother city. We weren't even in the city that we live in when this happened. So he left me in another city. No. And it was at that point I said, I don't want to do this no more. And I started making preparations to leave him at that point.
You heard him, Mr. Moore?
Yes. Well, I had planned this because, and at the time, I wanted to plan something nice for her, but I wanted us to plan it together. And she said, no, you plan it. So I did plan it. And so I had got a pair of jeans that I liked, and they were nice. I said, look at these jeans I got. She said, oh, those look like the same jeans. And she, she didn't really acknowledge that, and that kind of made me feel a little different about it. And so in the midst, I said, we got reservations. Let's go to this reservation so we can make it on time, because we do have a problem with going on time, and it's not because of me. So anyway, we're going to our reservations. In the midst of it, she gets a call from her coworker. She said, oh, I got to take this call. And they gossiping, just sitting there gossiping about the work and all of that. I'm like, you know, we got to go. She said, I know, I'm going to take this call. And she just took the call. So that kind of made me feel like what I planned wasn't even important. And she just looked at it like, oh, okay, well, it's just another day. But it wasn't another day. It was a special day to me. I had planned it.
Were you late?
Yeah, we were late. We were late. So I was speeding a little bit, and I didn't have anything to drink that day at that time. So when I got there, I dropped her off at the door, and I had to go find a parking spot because we were late. So when I got in there, she was looking kind of like, oh, I don't really like this place. This is not really a good place I wanted to go. They don't have this going and that. And I didn't really research it. And I was like, yeah, I understand. But she was still complaining about it. And I just wanted to have a good time. And she had a drink, and she still, on the way when we was leaving, she just still completely just had an attitude. And I didn't have an attitude. So she was kind of yelling and pointing at me. So I'm kind of driving and not really looking at her. And she was like, oh, you're not going to answer me. And I'm like, I really don't know what to say. So y'all fought
from the moment you started out at home?
No, ma'am, we did not.
Not coming home.
No, we did not. We did not start off arguing. And what he's saying, I don't remember all that, but it may be true because I love to lollygag and talk on the phone. And if you got something to tell me that's juicy, I want to hear it. So it might be true, but he's not telling the whole truth. We did not argue on the way there. I did make the comment about the pants, though, because it did look just like the pants he already had. Like, you went and bought those, you already had the same pants. And I can understand that hurt his feelings, but it wasn't until we were at the restaurant. The restaurant didn't have food. So I had worked 2 jobs that day.
I beg your pardon?
It didn't have food. It just was a bar.
It was more like entrees.
It was a bar. They had bar food.
It was a rooftop entree bar.
Meaning like little appetizers.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what I had complained about. Like, oh, they don't have any food here. And he was like, well, I didn't really research it, but he had an attitude about it because I said something. So I'm sorry that I said something, but I was hungry, Your Honor.
Mrs. Moore, Mr. Moore. Y'all don't like each other anymore.
No,
Yes.
no, that's not true. That's not. I love her. I love her.
I didn't say that. I didn't say
Okay.
nothing about love. I said y'all don't like each other anymore because you find reasons to be irritated with each other. Okay? I mean, if you're gonna plan an anniversary, I mean, maybe I'm being very whimsical because my anniversary is in 2 weeks. And so we are so excited about it. And we're looking forward to doing something fun together. And the one thing we know we're not going to do is tick each other off so we ruin it for the other person. You know, that's because we're considerate of each other. I'm wondering where has that gone in your relationship? That's why I'm glad your daughter is here. I want to hear from her.
Yes.
Because maybe she can give me some insight as to what she has seen over the years, because this doesn't even seem like friends anymore. I'd like to have Miss Johnson join me virtually at this time. Jayla, having grown up watching the two of them, what did you see?
I thought it was okay to be able to submit to a man that was aggressive. And so their relationship has definitely affected me.
Ms. Moore, how did you feel listening to your baby make those statements?
The things that we've been through have changed me so much. I'm not the same woman that he married.
I'd like to have Miss Johnson join me virtually at this time. Hello, Miss Johnson, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Will you please state your name for the court?
My name is Jayla Johnson.
Miss Jayla Johnson. So I'm going to say, what is your relationship with the couple so that I'm clear?
So Sharana Moore is my mother and Brian Moore is my stepfather.
And so as I understand it, they've been together for 23 years, but married for 17, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So that's you basically since the time you were a little girl.
Yes, ma'am.
Jayla, having grown up watching the two of them, what did you see?
Their relationship wasn't the best demonstration of a healthy relationship since I was a little girl, before they even got married.
What do you mean by that? Because now you're an adult woman and you're probably having your own relationships. So what
Yes.
did you see that made you think it was not healthy?
Well, for starters, Brian, my stepfather, he was a drunk. He didn't have an alcohol problem to me, but when he did drink, he would be very angry. And so that would lead to different aggressive behaviors and him kicking in doors, and their relationship just wasn't the best relationship to demonstrate to a young girl growing up and going into her teenage years. So it did affect me as an adult.
So that formed your image of the kind of man you might be attracted to and what you would put up with.
Absolutely. This is not a secret or anything like that. I'm just being completely transparent. As I was in college, I was dating this guy, and he wasn't the best type of person, but I thought it was okay to be able to submit to a man that was aggressive and demonstrated aggressive behaviors, and that was just toxic to my well-being. And in the ending, I ended up losing a child in that situation. My son passed away at 15 days old. And so their relationship has definitely affected me as an adult. And I'm trying to relearn now how to have a healthy relationship, because that was not demonstrated to me when I was younger.
What an amazing young lady that you are to have such insight into your own needs and your own mental health. You know, putting yourself on your own front burner is extremely important. And I don't want you to worry about what kind of example you're going to be for your children, because you are a good example of that right now. Making sure that you take care of yourself. I appreciate what you said about your mother and your stepfather. I'm going to talk with them so as not to put you in any more awkward position. But what do you think should happen in this relationship?
I think that they should be better off as friends eventually, that this relationship should have ended a long time ago. The longer it stays, it's the more toxic that it becomes. And it's not good for none of us, not me or the other children that's younger than me and are looking at y'all. because it's not gonna. You have grandchildren that are looking at y'all as well, and I need y'all to demonstrate what healthy co-parenting at least looks like.
I tell you what, it is very clear that you have been taking your therapy very seriously, and you are becoming a young woman that your children are going to be extremely proud of. Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson, for joining me today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Ms. Moore, how did you feel listening to your baby make those statements?
Your Honor, part of the reason why I asked for this divorce is because the things that we've been through have changed me so much. I'm not the same woman that he married. I want to be a better mother. I want to be a better woman and a better role model for my children. I need my girls to see me be strong and not take no more from this relationship.
What you just identified to me was generational unhealthiness, not having your father, learning how to be a father and a partner through the eyes of your children. Well, those eyes would be judging you pretty harshly right now. Mr. Moore, you helped raise young Miss Johnson.
Yes.
How did that make you feel to hear her make those statements about the toxicity that she grew up around?
I mean, it definitely hurts. It definitely hurts to hear that.
Was she telling the truth?
She was telling the truth in certain ways, and in certain ways she wasn't, because you know, I lost my father at a young age before I was born. So it was really hard for me to grow up to know how to be a father. So I really learned through my children how to be a father. And I did the best I could.
And you saw, however,
yes,
that regardless of what your efforts were, and since I was not a part of that dynamic, I can't tell you whether or not you made those efforts, but no matter what her perception was, that men are aggressive and that women put up with it. And women tolerated. That was her perception. And that manifested itself in her own life. And so she became attracted to at least one man who exhibited those same behaviors. And that left her with trauma. And did you hear her say she wanted to stop the generational unhealthiness?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
What you just identified to me was generational unhealthiness. Not having your father, not knowing how to be a father, learning how to be a father and a partner through the eyes of your children. Well, those eyes would be judging you pretty harshly right now. And I know that's tough to hear for both of you. But there comes a time when you both have to say, you know what? This has run its course. Mm-hmm. And there's been good times, and we acknowledge there have been bad times, but for the sake of our 16-year-old son and our 11-year-old daughter, co-parenting might be the healthiest thing.
Yes.
So that I don't hear from them in the next 2, 3, 4 years. Your son at 16 is learning to be that aggressive man, just so you know. That's who he's going to turn into. You know how you turned into your father and you didn't have your father and you learned to be a father?
Yes.
That's what you're teaching him. And your daughter, Miss Moore?
Yes.
She's learning to accept behavior that is unacceptable.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Yes, of course.
We had lost our son in October.
August.
In August, we lost our son. And I have been seeking counseling ever since then. And also, I have a therapy group that I go see as well twice a month.
So you've been dealing with grief?
Yes.
As well as, more than likely now, I'm getting a bigger picture, a better picture. You've been self-medicating with alcohol. I know you brought divorce papers.
Yes, ma'am.
And I never want to encourage a couple to call it quits on their relationship, But in this situation, Mr. Moore, you have not just a problem with alcohol, you have a problem with whatever unresolved trauma you have. And I love that you are getting that help. You said you have a therapy group.
I have a therapist that I see
And
too.
you have a personal therapist. And that's wonderful. But that is individual healing. You have to become a whole human being who is healed to be able to bring that whole human being to a relationship. And at this point, Mrs. Moore has to determine whether or not she wants to wait for you to become that whole human being. That's really where we are. And Mrs. Moore, I ask you, would you like me to serve the papers?
Yes, please.
May I have the papers, please?
Sure.
Thank you. State of Arizona. Mrs. Moore, you have already signed and dated these papers.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like me to serve these papers?
Yes, ma'am.
Serve the papers, Corey. Thank you.
You've been served.
Mr. Moore, I don't have the ability to force you to sign those papers, but you've been served, and that thus begins your ability to take those papers and this transcript to a court of law and begin divorce proceedings should you want to follow through.
Yes, ma'am.
You've given Mr. Moore chance after chance, but it seems like he's still in a place where he needs to heal. And I am not going to be critical of you, Mr. Moore, because some of the drama and trauma that you've described would take any man out. I understand that, sir. But this behavior has gone on for far too long. And if you want to be your own whole human being, you got to take back your life.
Yes, ma'am.
You have to take back your life. And I don't know if you can be friends, because you're not friends right now, and you've ruined whatever friendship you had by this toxicity. You need to try to get back to friendship, but before you can even get to that point, you've got to find out who you are individually. It doesn't make me happy to say we're done here, but this marriage is done.
Yes, ma'am.
It's been done for a long time.
Yes, ma'am.
That's my verdict.
So, you know, I love you, and I'll sign the papers, but I really want to be your friend and work on co-parenting, and I really show you that I am the man that you need, and the man that I can know that I can be for our children.
And I hope that someday we can come back together, because I still love you too.